Let's see. I think this should go. All right. Blessings and good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, depending on where in the world you're watching this. This is the one and only Mr. LP. You're 183 pound version less of Mr. LP. Good evening to everybody. I pray all is well, and welcome to our special event programming of Enlive and Global Media. We're here. We tell the truth. We tell the truth. Excuse me. Today, we are talking about Project 2025 and all the dangers with it. And we're going to be fair and supposedly talk about the benefits of it, which I don't think there is, but we're going to be honest all around. Today, I'm going to have three special guests. Two of them are here with us now. I'm going to be nice so I don't butcher anybody's names. I'm going to let them introduce themselves for you. As always, ladies go first in our platform. So take it away, Queen.
My name is Anika Walston. I am from Petersburg, Virginia, and I am a licensed clinician in the state of Virginia.
All right. Thank you so very kindly. And you are also, I'm going to throw it out there. You also are a world renowned author. And can you tell us about your book or the recent publishing?
I don't have my most recent published. My most recent publishing was in 2012. I wrote Generational Dysfunctions, and it is available on Amazon and other feeds. And I will be more than happy to post that information later.
Thank you very kindly. Hey, it's recent. You never know who sees it, and God knows, it's still relevant. So we're gonna go from there. And one of my favorite people in the world. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Ron Bryant. I'm the creator of Cutting Edge Cartoons. Most people call me Cut. I'm the creator of Cutting Edge Cartoons and Gigi. I'm an editorial cartoonist, children book illustrator, and editorial illustrator as well.
All right. Thank you very kindly, sir. And the work that you do for everybody is greatly appreciated very much. So, for those who don't know, I'm going to introduce about Project 2025. It's an initiative spearheaded by a coalition of a lot of conservative people, mostly Republican and some independents, and they idolize themselves as a think tank, working with the Heritage Foundation and a lot of other advocacy groups that's leaning to the far side of their views. Their whole goal is changing and reshaping the policy and administrative landscape of the U.S. federal government. To me, just basically total new world order. It seeks to prepare a detailed action plan for future Republican administration, focusing on a comprehensive overhaul of federal agencies and realignment of government priorities conservative towards conservative viewpoints. Key objectives include reducing size of federal workforce, deregulation of various sectors, promoting policies that emphasize limited government liberties, individual liberties more so, and free market economics. Now, there's extensive research and collaboration among various policy experts to develop this blueprint, as they say, that could be, they feel they can implement swiftly as long as they get total control of all the branches of the House. I'm sorry, the House, the Senate, presidency, and the Supreme Court. And we already know they hold control of many of the federal courts as well. And it's including various executive orders, legislative proposals, identifying key personnel to fill key positions, getting rid of various employees, and so much more. It's very dangerous. This type of action, and along with the recent ruling, the Supreme Court to basically give the president total power without, any checks and balances, is going to be a very dangerous thing. There's talks of increasing Supreme Court to try to take this out. There's also obviously laws or policies they want to put in place to limit the Supreme Court. There's just a lot going on. And I need for America, actually the world, to wake up. Because if you feel comfortable in putting this in place, and we've already seen what happens with democracy when democracy has died in other countries and locations around the world, and you see what happens to those people there within those countries, their citizens are suffering, and all because of power. And when you have less of care for the fellow man, more importantly, less caring about yourself and your family's future, these things can happen. I also want to make note that this is not always all on the government. At some point in time, our people, especially people of color, I'm going to call it for what it is, need to start holding themselves accountable. And because if we did our parts in getting involved in voting, not just when Obama or whoever's in office and presidency, we don't get involved in our local, state, and federal elections. Our local and state elections and people who vote to put our federal judges in place. We don't get involved. These type of things are going to happen. They played the long game. They played checkers. We were playing checkers. They were playing chess, and then some. Please take the floor, Queen. Ms. Walston, with your initial thoughts of this.
My initial thoughts about Project 2025 was that one of the concerns that I have in our community is that we don't educate ourselves with things outside of our purview. And what normally happens is that we lose sight of things that are important, and then we get around to our the fourth election and like we're just going to vote or we're not going to vote, and our beliefs are things are not going to change. We don't realize sometimes that things start in our home. Before we even get to these elections, we need to educate our children. We need to educate our family. We need to actually know what's going on. It really, to me, doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, as long as you believe and know what you're believing in. And one of the problems that I have with Project 2025 is people are just looking on the outskirts of what it might do, not understanding what it is doing right now, even though it hasn't been implemented. These changes with the Supreme Court and giving someone total immunity should be scary enough. We're talking about like communism and things that are going to happen right before our eyes, and we're not going to even know that it's happening because we're not focusing on the things that are around us. So my biggest concern, number one, is with the current president, and also with the people who are being elected into these places. My biggest concern was Trump's pick the other night for his vice president. I wasn't as concerned about Trump until he picked JD Vance. And I think people should definitely take some time out to read who that nominee is, because he, in my opinion, is just a small Hitler just waiting to happen. And we definitely don't need that in the year of our Lord 2024. So that's my first initial thought on that. I think people, number one, need to educate themselves.
I understand. Sir?
I've had some time to do some research on 2025, and I think we all should be concerned with 2025. But I think that the whole conversation regarding 2025, we are being distracted while really affecting our community. We are not a black and brown coalition. We are a black community. And one of the problems that the Democratic Party, particularly Biden, is facing now is that he did not live up to the promises that he guaranteed us several years ago to benefit the black community. How would the 2025 project affect black people? It will affect us, but keep this in mind. Initially and ultimately, it's the responsibility of black communities and the black families to educate black children. Okay, when it comes to my personal opinion, when it comes to downsizing the federal government, I think that the government is overbloated. I think it's overbloated as it is, and in reality, many Black Americans are not radically conservative, but morally we are a conservative people. So I think 2025 is a concern. How it affects our people, it will to a degree, but we have bigger concerns in 2025.
Amen. Amen. And like you said, these things are going on now. Now I'm going to hit, I have obviously it's a 900 plus document. I want people to know, and please place a comment in the chat, wherever you at here on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and it's going to soon be on Instagram and Twitter, but currently we're broadcasting on YouTube and Facebook. If you have any questions regarding this, please chat in the group. Even afterwards, please make sure you put your questions in, because we will answer your questions. Also, I have a copy for those who may not want to look it up or try to hunt it down. I have both the original and the updated version of the document as a PDF. If you would like a copy of it, I've just about maybe the last 80 pages or so left to read through it. But there's a lot to it, and I have no problem sharing it with you so you know what's going on. And I want people to understand something. And I had a discussion with another person. When we see somebody that we dislike, on TV or whatever. Trust me, I'm not here about giving, I don't want to give them ratings. I don't want to act like we're supporting them. I get all of that. Well, like both of you keenly articulated, we have to be knowledgeable of what's out there, whether you say yes or no to. So it will behoove us to make sure that we are watching their words, watching what they're singing. So then that way we know what's going on and how to tackle these situations. Because if we're not aware, it's going to be a problem. We are joined by another beautiful queen and things like that. One of my dearest best friends in the world who checks me when I'm right, checks me when I'm wrong, but never tell me I'm right. But I think she just tells me that just to keep me on my shoulders. Don't let me get too big of a head myself. But the one and dear my blonde ambition, dear author Tracy Hardy Scott, aka Raw Silk, aka the left jab hurts. I want to make
Good
that's her new
evening,
hashtag.
everybody.
Left jab hurts.
I am not messing with you. Good evening, everybody. I just popped in. How is
Good evening.
everyone?
Good evening. I'm well.
Good,
Good evening. Good evening.
good.
Yeah, I gave us. We didn't get too far ahead. I gave them a brief introduction on the audience about Project 2025, and the king and queen here shared us their initial thoughts of it. If you don't mind, please feel free. Besides my terrible introduction, if you mind introducing everybody about yourself, tell us about your book and your upcoming one real quickly, and also your initial thoughts about Project 2025.
Okay. So I'm author Tracy Hardy Scott, better known as Raw Silk. My books are called The BS Theory. The first one is The BS Theory, Embracing the Gift of Women's Intuition. And the second is They Will Stop Feeding You BS If You Stop Providing the Spoon. And so I basically write about empowerment for women and also show women how sometimes we are co-conspirators in the crimes that we say have been committed against us in relationships. So that's basically what I write about. I advocate, so you name it. I like to do a lot of things. I wear a lot of hats on top of these wigs. I tell you, he always kids me. So um enough about me. Project 2025. The only thing that I can say it is the perfect roadmap. Is the perfect template for a racist roadmap. That's the way that I can say it. Um, it's not new. It's been going on. It finally has a name to it. I guess they felt this year it was worthy, to put a name to it. But it's really, really not new. It's been going on for a very, very long time. I want to say since the inception. It just kind of gets different faces at different times. But we seen the last time that 45 got in office, he gave people in the United States he gave racist people in the United States an emboldenedness and an empowerment that has surpasses even my understanding. I mean, when you talk about, I was laughing a few minutes ago, I was talking to my husband and I was saying that, when I was a little girl, I remember Jim Jones getting the people to drink the Kool-Aid. And this is our new Jim Jones, the people that drank the Kool-Aid, okay? And they keep drinking the Kool-Aid. And so I think everyone on this call can agree that it's not new. We've experienced it on some different level. If you're here in Virginia, we can see the way this current governor's administration has kind of partnered and mirrored what they're outlined in Project 2025. He started with the foolishness with the critical race theory, and now banning certain books in school or whatever. So, I mean, we already know. I think for me, I want to know the bigger question for me from Project 2025 is when will our people get it and galvanize the way that they need to stop this foolishness from happening again and again and again?
Y'all want to respond to that before I answer? I want to be fair.
I absolutely agree because I think, we kind of spoke on this briefly yesterday. My concern is just us as a group getting together to understand the power that we do have in our community. And I think a lot of times it's just negated, and we just kind of let things roll over our shoulders. So I think it is important that we do have these conversations and these platforms, and even if it's for, after you finish talking, speak to someone else about it. I speak to my children about it, and even my kids were like, "Well, we don't know who to vote for." Well, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I'm going to tell you what it looks like. It's as simple as understanding that we have rights, and our ancestors fought hard for us to have these rights. And we don't have to be silenced just because it looks like somebody else is in control. We have control. We just need to know how to utilize that control that we have in our communities. We need to step up, not utilize conspiracy theories, and be comfortable with having these conversations and call a spade a spade. This has been going on not this year, not since 2016, way before that. This has been going on since I was a little girl. They want things to go back to the same way they were before. And I don't know who the they is, but the they is a large crowd right now. So, even some of us are on the side of making sure that they keep us down. So it is important that we educate ourselves and continue to move forward and fight as a people. And I don't care if you're white, black, red. This affects everyone.
Very much so. Cut.
I agree. But we also know this has been going on for a couple of decades. And if we know this has been going on for a couple of decades and it's been affecting the black community, we know that whenever there's a downturn in the economy, it affects the black people most. We know that black people have blindly been following the Democratic Party for decades. So if we know it's been going on for years, why can't we, if this is such a threat, and I'm not talking about for black and brown, I'm talking about for black people now. I'm about black people. If this is a threat for black people, why can't we come together as a black community and talk to the Republican Party or the Democratic Party about how we can be on either one side when it comes to policies that affect our people? And this is where we're falling short. And this is why the Democratic Party is falling. This is why they will fail in November. This is why Trump is going to be elected, because I talk to my kids. All three of my kids are professional adults now. All right. And we talked about 2025. We talked about politics, and they don't think the way we think. They're not just going to blindly vote blue because that's what we do. Like Biden said, like 3.5 years ago, if you don't vote for him, we ain't black. They're not falling for the banana in the tailpipe. So I see 2025. I see it could be a problem, but I also see it as a scare tactic. You can't use Donald Trump as a scare tactic anymore as being the next Hitler. They're not falling for that anymore. And a lot of black Americans ain't falling for that either. Now they're using 2025 as a scare tactic, in which we've been feeling that for several decades now. So what it's going to take for our community is to reach out to the Republican and Democratic Party, say, what policies are you going to enact that's going to benefit the black community? And so far, neither party has done anything to benefit the black community.
I'm going to jump in on add to
I
that.
agree. If I can, yeah. Go
No,
ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Because I was going to say that I agree with him to a certain point. And there was the certain point I agree with him totally about talking. I stopped voting party a long time ago. The problem that I have with our Gen Z and our younger people, like he said, they're not going for the okie doke, but the reality is what it is. We can call this thing and we could sugarcoat it. Trump has taken everything out of Hitler's handbook and instituted. A person that could get people to storm on the White House. Okay, we forget about January 6th. That's a lot of power. And so, yes, I agree that this is not only about Trump, but what's it going to take for us to galvanize? Is it going to take for us to one day get that bell ringing and we hear it and it's okay, all Negroes report back to the plantation? I mean, because realistically, that's where they've taken it. They've taken away all of these rights that's going around. All of our rights are starting to slowly but surely be stripped from us. And a lot of people don't pay attention that some of the rights that's on the book are just acts. They're not laws. They're just acts, and they get voted on repeatedly. And with the way he has set up the Supreme Court and the way that he showed us who he was the last time. Me personally, I can't understand any person of color supporting that administration. Period. I can't. But that's just me personally. And yes,
But
I agree with him that the Democrats.
how can we justify supporting the Democratic Party at this point? Tell me, what have they done for not people of color?
I'm
but for
sorry, I
Black
didn't hear you.
What have
No,
what
that's
have
what I was
the-
getting ready to say. I was getting ready to say that too. I was getting ready to say I agree with you that the Democratic Party is weak. I agree with you that they have not done anything to show me or whatever, but I can tell you for me, if I have to wheel Biden, if my only two choices is Trump and Biden, and I have to wheel Biden in a wheelbarrow or a wheelchair, I'm pushing. I am never going to put Donald Trump back in office again, ever.
Well,
It's too dangerous and too detrimental.
I do have a question,
Say-
and I just, maybe it sounds crazy. What is it that Black people need and want? That's what I. So if we get that answer, then maybe that's what we can push. What is it that we need and want?
number one? Go ahead, Stephen.
Okay. A couple of quick things that y'all posted that are very key points. Here's what's happening. I think it's not so much the blind thing, it's just the lack of apathy and lack of challenging the people within each party, and especially the Democratic Party, as they have made the shift, and then the Republican was shifted the other side. Ever since then, it's just like, okay, we're just going to ride along who's ever for us. But the problem is neither one had they may have had an agenda. I don't want to sit there and say they did not. But ever since the days of Lord Jesus, the lady in the 70s and then Jackson in the 80s running for president, since then, they never articulated a clear plan. And
You talking about, are you referring to Shirley Chisholm?
Yes. Thank you. Shirley Chisholm and Jackson did not necessarily write out a clear plan of what's going to happen. And I think that unfortunately I'm tired of the thing of that we always got to break things down for people to understand. At some point in time, we have to lift ourselves up and take the time out to read and articulate clearly what's going on. That's one aspect. Two, we don't hold people accountable. Even with the recent of Obama in office, he's in, okay, whatever. I'm not going to sit here and bastardize his administration. I will not do that. But there are several things that he need to be called out and to question on. Or everybody can. But we did not do that, because as soon as you say something, oh, you just hate Black people or you're against Black, that's not. And when he was running, there was a lot of things that I said that happened in Chicago that was not very good, and the policies that literally hurt communities of color. And you just marked yourself as president for 90% of your votes. How is that going to translate? Where do you take a stand? So we need to be comfortable in ourselves to do that. The third thing to answer all of your questions is that with the school, with the pullback of education, gym, music, all these other different things, and focus on SOL, we don't teach government. So 90% of the people do not know. You've seen it on Jay Leno. You've seen it on all the comedy shows. You see it just in everyday life. People do not know how the government works. And they say, well, you can't do anything. Actually, you can. It just depends on how you're going on. And then you have to, and the fourth thing is, in each jurisdiction, except for what happened with Ms. Crockett in Texas, and obviously AOC in New York, and the other lady that's part of the squad in Minnesota, people are not voting for people who are originally from your area, or at least spent some significant time. Not the bigwig come in and then vote because I got money and vote for me, who grew up, who knows what's going on, and who authentically care about you and your constituents and don't care. You saw where AOC did not care about what Pelosi or Schumer or anybody policy. This is what we need to do for our environment, and that's going to help communities of color. Don't like it. And then they shut her down. And we did not, as a community, we did not support. So we have to get in the fight of understanding how the government works. You can just as much apply to sit in those congressional meetings just like everybody else. You can sit in those publicly traded meetings and get those calls, stop falling for the lies, and call both parties out, like you said, sir, and say, this is what's going to happen. Now, as far as what we want, I think that's going to be a different question for all, but for the majority, it's just basically to operate as an everyday person without the fear of just a retribution for everything. Just as many people, we try to articulate that white privilege is not about money, but it's the idea that you can walk on this earth and not fear that you're going to be beat down the same way as a person of color, and particularly black men and black women in this country without the fear. I cannot walk on the street and sit there and literally say I'm not going to be beat down when I go to the bank. I'm not sure if I walk in there with a $5,000 check and be questioned the same way as somebody else is. Just the everyday microaggressions. So they're going through there. And yes, there's all this talk about reparations and things like that, but there's more to that. I say all the time, we don't even understand as a community how money actually works as well. So it's just like giving a child, a 4-year-old, $1,000. What are they going to do with it? You don't know. So now at this time with technology, there's no excuses. We do know the plan was given to us as outlined. We just have to get off ourselves, and we got us rights, civil rights, supposedly civil rights in the late 60s. Okay, in the late 70s and 80s, we took our foot off the gas, and you saw what happens. And now we've been trying to regain it since the 90s. Stop letting celebrities with a financial agenda tell you what to do. And those who are not just party of it at the time because it's popular with Obama. Where's the rock the vote? Where's the now? Where's all the NAACPs? Where's these sororities or fraternities? I'm going to call it out. Where's the churches? Where were you that you're so impactful, but you weren't here? And now with the last couple of elections and coming on right now, we don't see you in full force. I promise you, when Obama was running, I could every day for like 3 months, I got 10 people beat me down at a grocery store, gas station. Did you register? Did you register? You need a ride? Are you hungry? What you need? Where are you now? Where's that same level? And those things are not passed on to our children, our parents, and unless whether you have a chick or child or not, you do not. We are not doing our outside of the present party, and some of those who are listening to us. We're not passing down, taking your kids to vote and teaching down. They know more language of your rap song and the intricacies of different lyrics and what they mean, and it can decipher the various words in rap music, but we can't do that with government documents. That's a problem for me. But to go forward, I got some things here. I got tons of them. We may not get to them all, but I want to tackle each one and throw some things out on y'all. And I would love to hear your thoughts on each one. First and foremost is deregulation of environment protections, which basically lower income communities and community colors may face increased pollution and environmental hazards. I could say right now here in Richmond on the east and south side, there's different flowers and trees that cause more pollen problems and health issues with the river and lake. And we still haven't finished cleaning the James River. That's hurting the environment on the south side. And of course, all our factories, we live near all the factories that we were there for generations. That's also the case for many. 70% of the workforce are near factories in low air quality areas. But what are your ladies' thoughts, Ms. Walston?
We're talking about climate change specifically.
Well, yes, they have a deregulation of environmental protections, which basically lower income communities and communities of color may face increased pollution and environmental hazards because of it.
Well, one of the issues right now is because low income areas already deal with other things other than just the pollution. They have to deal with the crime and everything else. Making that type of decision to change those regulations is just going to cause more issues like crime increase, health problems, which also in Project 2025, there is things talking about our healthcare, us not having access to that. So I'm not well versed in it, and I won't pretend like I'm well versed in it, but I do know that anything that's going to affect a low income environment is going to affect people's ability to be fully educated, to fully thrive healthy, and also to be able to succeed. So I do think that is a big concern because higher polluted areas are going to increase the health concerns of younger kids. Because right now there's a problem with kids with bronchial issues. We've had the COVID issue that has gone through. So I think that's going to be a big problem going into 2025 if that is going to turn into an issue.
Understand. Raw Silk.
Um, hold on. I agree with what she said, but and I really don't want to see that happen. I have a phenomenal Queen Karen Kaplan with the NAACP that advocates for environmental justice all the time. But again, if we one of the problems is that we got to start having truthful and transparent conversations, right? And so even though we have all of these environmental protections on the books, they still happen every single day. Okay. It's in your low income neighborhoods that your 5G towers and all of your cross the area wires and underground fiber optics. Those are the target areas to put those things because like Michael Jackson says, they don't care about us. Okay, that's the bottom line. Those things are nothing has changed. You have these protections all the time, but you would never go out to Far Henrico County or Glen Allen and see as much fiber optic lines and cross area lines across cable lines and everything else. Okay, and it has showed that those things cause a lot of cluster cancers in our communities. Like she said, bronchial problems, asthma problems. I mean, just think about it right now. Just something as simple as mold, right? So in the city of Richmond, okay, mold is not regulated. Code enforcement can't do anything about mold. If you call and you say you got mold in your house, it's nothing they can do but cite the landlord to determine what is the source of mold. But if the landlord doesn't fix it, it's nothing that they can do. Okay? Why is that? You would never see anybody living in Wyndham or Glen Allen or anything with mold. And that's the problem. It's just like we've become so comfortable in thinking that just because there's things that's written on a piece of paper and a group of people voted on it or whatever, that it is enforced for the benefit of us. And it's not. And so going back to the gentleman's thing, what is it that we need? We need like to be FUBU. We need to be governed for us and by us. Okay, we need to stop voting for people who show up in our neighborhoods and kiss our babies and bring their hot dogs and their bouncy things, and then after the election they completely forget that we even exist. We need to start showing up. You know, you could go on Facebook right now and you can probably see 150 comments of what happened on season 4 or 5 of Family Business, but you're not going to see anybody talking about what happened at Richmond City Council or City Council in your jurisdiction or your jurisdiction, Mr. LP. And so, yeah, even though these protections is there, whether they take them or not is irrelevant to me because they're not working for us anyway.
Mm-hmm. All right. Mr. Brian, you want to comment on the environmental part of it, sir?
Well, first, let me apologize. My phone overheated and it shut down. So now I'm on my Mac. All right.
I see. Okay, you're on a Mac. You got limited time now and things like that. But you know, just to let everybody know that his Cash App and Venmo accounts constantly ring 30 times a day, so that's why it overheats all the time. So I just want to let you know.
My opinion regarding environmental issues has been consistent. It's very important. I know that with Project 2025, they want to eliminate agencies when it comes to environment. That's just dumb. That's just dumb. And it's based on profit. Okay, it's not based on protecting the planet. It's based on monetary gains for different corporations. So when it comes to 2025, I have an issue with that because obviously we have a major environmental issue. Now, when it comes to what the sister was talking about regarding fiber, it's kind of a catch-22 because the reality is this. The internet is knowledge. Fiber is the way of the internet now. Coax, RG6, RG11 is going the way of the dodo. Copper is going the way of the dodo. It's not fiber. Just about every major city is using fiber now. It's faster. It has more bandwidth. Okay. And the more communities can go into, the better, I believe, because what you're doing is you're exposing the next generation to more knowledge, into the information, into AI. All right. and I work in that area. So I will say I'm not astute when it comes to the ratifications of fiber being ran in communities. But I understand that having access to the World Wide Web or the internet is a asset versus a liability.
I agree. It just is how it's placed in the areas. You'll see it in certain parts of town. They're in the wooded area and whatever here because we don't have that same type of greenery in the lower income areas, so it's more prevalent. And
Well,
unfortunately,
fiber is expensive, Stephen. I
no,
mean,
oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, when you're talking about plants and squids, you're talking about plants and squids. That's a lot of money. So they're going to
Oh
put it
yeah.
in those affluent neighborhoods first.
Yeah, right. And they're gonna put them in there. The thing is, one of the things as a person I've been advocating for access for internet, especially in schools in lower income areas. This is one of the things that the lottery is supposed to have fixed, and still hasn't nationally. But you're right on those things. It's just the access. I'm going to get on a couple of things that may be a little bit more familiar. Economic inequality. Tax cuts favoring the wealthy has already been widening the gap in corporate welfare. And now the fact that many of these groups, they want to take out the fact that they're not required to be diverse on their money or who they spend the money with. And they also how it affects lower income families and minorities. How we've all spoken about economic inequality all the time regarding this. And now, now that it's in full force now, what are your thoughts regarding economic inequality and how Project 2025 will affect that? I'll go in reverse order. I'll start with you, Mr. Bryant.
I will say this about my understanding of 2025 is the illegal migration. They want to eliminate illegal migration in this country. I am all for that because what's happened to this country when it comes to illegal immigrants, they have taken our economic resources, our social resources, okay? Resources that should have been given to the Black communities, they have taken those things, okay? And in my opinion, the Democratic Party, they've decided that having the illegal immigrants here is to replace us with the illegal immigrants. That's what I believe. All right, because he understands that the Black community is not falling for the banana and tailpipe anymore. So they need the illegal immigrants to come in here and replace the Black community. That's why Chicago, that's why Atlanta and New York is dealing with the issues that they're dealing with.
Okay, that's a very interesting perception. Is it? Do you feel? And I need to let the ladies get in, but let me ask this question to that point. Do you feel that it's designed to, regardless of party, because they all have an agenda? Do you feel that the idea is to, if you attack, get us to play for the ants in a jar scenario, instead of focusing on the lid? That if we're busy attacking and getting mad at immigrants and other people, besides obviously majority, a lot of it is in Central America, but in South America, but we also have a large amount of from other places, and nobody talks about the immigrants, illegal immigrants. That's all from Europe and Africa. There's always I'm sorry, Europe and Canada. There's a lot there, but nobody talks about them. And they were, and many of them for years, also getting away with money and fraud and what have you. There is less crime from immigrants. Typically, they have a different mindset than the people here. Do you feel that the goal is that if we focus on attacking each other, that we will take away the attention from them?
I don't agree with that, Stephen. I think that
Okay.
I think there's a stigma associated, particularly with Black men, Black Americans, that they have illegal immigrants have a different mindset when it comes to work ethic. I think that is wrong. There's many Black men. There's a large percent of Black men, thanks to Joe Biden's 1994 crime bill, they are now felons and they can't get decent paying jobs. And what's happening is that these Black men can't get these jobs, and these migrants, these illegal migrants, are taking these jobs. Now I'm experiencing it here in Florida. These illegal migrants are now working in construction. They're working in landscaping. All right. They're taking over positions that used to be ran by Black men.
Okay, so this is not about being against illegal migrants. This is about being against a system that is benefiting people who don't even participate in the tax system, but benefit from it. But a system that don't even do anything for the people that pay their taxes.
So it's the person that hiring them, not the workers' fault. Because they want them, because they go work in the offices. They come to. I'm not.
Well, first
When
of
I
all,
say,
first of all,
I'm not
first
saying
of
that
all,
black men can't work. I don't want
well,
to give that.
well,
message.
well,
I
well,
don't wanna
first
give
of
that message.
all, it's not so much about a fault, but it's how you come into this country.
Okay.
If you come in this country with no documentation and you don't do it the right way, even legal migrants say this: do it the way I did it. Do it the way where it took months and months and months to prove ourselves that we want to be Americans. They're coming in here and they're getting free resources. There was a TikToker that went viral that was bragging about owning property, getting free money from the government. You will never hear a black man talking like that. You won't hear it because the government is not going to give a black man that type of resource. But they're openly giving money to illegal migrants, not legal migrants, but illegal migrants. And we won't even talk about Ukraine, and we won't talk about Israel. All right. So that's my beef. So I don't have a problem with anybody when to come here to start a new life, but do it the right way. Don't sneak in here, because what happens is this: you open the floodgate of not just people who want to live a good life, but murderers, rapists, pedophiles, criminals, the mafia, the cartel, and they're all now flooding New York, Chicago, and Atlanta.
Okay. Tracy?
I don't believe that. I love him, but I totally disagree. I agree with take care of home first. I agree with that. But for me, my blood always boils, especially when Black people start talking about illegal and getting legal when we didn't even come here with documentation. So that's just crazy to me.
We were
And then
forced
to
here.
a country, exactly. But
It was
then
not. It was
then
not our design to come to this country. We
right.
was
But
forced
then
here.
to come to a country that is basically stolen land from every person in the world. Like we talk about illegal migrants going, and they first started in California. Well, hell, the United States stole all of California, Americanized the name,
So
and now you
wouldn't it
got the
be,
nerve
so
to
let
want to
me
put
ask
up
you
a
this:
wall.
wouldn't it be fair if you know the United States was wrong from the get-go, 400 plus years ago, to give reparations to Black Americans, give resources to Black Americans, versus illegal migrants coming over here?
I totally, that's what I said. I agree with you to a certain degree, but then I also do, and I agree with you or whatever, especially someone that oversees a lot of those projects. But there's a two-sided sword here, because you happen to be, and there are some brothers out there that will do that work, but there's also some brothers out there that wouldn't even consider the pay scale that the migrants and some of them are getting, that wouldn't even do the work. When you go to your hotels, the most of your maids and stuff is Hispanic. There are not many Black women working in a hotel. There are not many. So I think it's a happy balance. I agree with you about the fact that yes, New York has a problem because they let open up the floodgates and brought all of these people in without a plan. Without a plan. Okay, because that would be just like me saying, okay, I'm from New York City and half of my family came down to Virginia. We're not welcome here because we came from up north. You follow what I'm saying? I just think that there needs to be a balance. I agree with taking home first. The other thing too is that for every benefit that's out there, some of us don't even research or look for the benefits that's out there that's for us. That's just a fact. Some of us don't. Some of us are too proud to apply for some things. Yes, you're right. Some of us get shortchanged and block out, but there's also some things that we won't consider and we won't take it. And we fall for the okie doke all the time. Like we fall for the okie doke about welfare. It's more white people on welfare than there is black people on welfare. But yet we seem to be the poster child every time that there's a picture of someone that's getting some kind of food stamp or benefit. We seem to be the poster, and more of your Jews are on welfare than anybody in the United States of America. So
agree.
I think that we get so wrapped up of what's spoon fed to us or whatever. We start practicing racism on people that mean us no harm. That's the problem.
You know what? I understand what you're saying, but in my line of work, I'm experiencing it. I know black men that cannot get work in construction. They can't get work in laying fiber because illegal migrants are doing work because they're willing to do the work for less money. And as an American, it's all right to have a decent wage to take care of our families. You understand? So the problem is this: you've got companies out here that's willing to hire illegal migrants because they're willing to pay, they're willing to work for half the wage. That's a problem within itself. That's not the problem of the black person. That's the problem with the corporation. But the corporation, they understand that these illegal migrants are going to come in here and they can do half the work. I mean, they'll take half the pay and do most of the work. But that's not a problem with the black man or the black woman.
Let me get
system.
Let me get Miss Walston. Walston. I'm sorry. I know I'm butchering it every day. Please forgive me, man.
It's Walston. It's Walston.
I'm getting there. I'm sorry. I'm getting there. Missing teeth. Hey, I'm getting it there. I'm getting it fixed soon. It's hard. Apologies.
Well, respectfully, and I heard the gentleman when he was talking about migrants coming into the country and not paying taxes. But what about the individuals that come here and don't pay taxes? Like the Asian groups can come here for 5 years, open up a business and transfer it into another person's name and continue to not pay taxes. And they're thriving. It's not the illegal immigrants. And I understand there needs to be a cutoff, but everybody in the United States of America is an illegal immigrant, period. So I don't know how we
other than for foundational black Americans, we are not immigrants.
We are all illegal immigrants except for Native Americans. We
were forced here. We were brought here as slaves.
Whether we were forced here or not, Native
but we're
Americans
not illegal immigrants. We were forced here as slaves.
What I'm saying is,
let's just make that clear. All right.
Okay, we'll be fair about that. Well, illegal immigrants, okay, they're coming here to work. They're not coming here to sleep. So if they're working, it's the corporation's decision on whether or not the wage that they're going to provide. Maybe we should regulate the corporation and what they could provide as a wage. Also, there are other groups that come to America that do not have to pay the taxes, and some of them don't work. So I don't think we just need to make this an illegal immigrant issue, because the illegal immigrants are not the issues. It's the people who utilize the illegal immigrants' talent, and then that's how they are exposed. So then they look like the bad guy when they're coming here to work. We're not talking about they're coming here to slum. You said it yourself. They're coming here to get a job. Now, respectfully, I'm a black woman. I raise black men, and some black men are trying to find jobs. But for what about those who are not, who, like the young lady said, that are not trying to work for a decent wage or not work at all? And that's not just black. That's black, brown, white. Anybody that wants to work to build up this country should be allowed to.
Y'all like, and I hate to say this, and I love you, Queens, but y'all like to stereotype black men as being Pookies and Ray Rays.
No, I raised two black men.
Let me finish.
Two black men.
Most of the black men I know, most of the black men I know throughout my life are hardworking black men. They're taxpayers.
My father included. All of that.
In my line of work, all right, I deal with the Asian community when it comes to being a system integrator. Yes, they do pay their taxes. But what they do, they focus on their community.
But that's the fault with our black community.
I'm not saying that they don't pay taxes, but they get a different tax.
The Asian community is no different than the Jewish community. They all pay their taxes.
I didn't say they didn't pay their taxes. They
All
just
right.
get
Well,
a
Ron,
different
do you
tax
think
rate.
it could be, do you think it wrong that it could be primarily just the area that you're in? Because I oversee construction myself, okay, on $1 million projects. I just had a job fair for construction, an open job fair, and 20 black men showed up. 87 Hispanics showed up. So it could be just the area, you know what I'm saying, of what it is in the income.
Well,
I'm
what I
not, I
get you
wait,
to
wait, hold
call
on.
from
I don't want, let me make it clear. I'm not stereotyping black men at all because I'm raising one and I was raised by a damn good one. Okay, that work hard. I might go down my family tree. My grandfather worked in the cleaners. Okay, when he first started there, he was making $3.87. Okay, so I fully understand exactly what, but I think, like the Queen said, the regulation needs to be on the user of the labor, not the laborer, because I have illegal immigrants that were in my family that came here and that their sole mission was to come here to work, to send money back home because they couldn't. And I think that stereotype of the cartel is coming here and rapists and pedophiles, or I call BS on that. Okay, I don't see a whole
you
bunch
just
of
made my
criminals
point.
coming up.
Thank you for making my point. They come over here to make the money, and they send it outside the states and go back into their communities.
Well,
Okay,
but
and
I
so
do
what's
think
wrong with
that's a
that?
strong statement to say that the
You don't think
cartel
that's a
is
problem?
coming over and the mafia
No,
is
no,
coming
that's
over.
what I said. I'm saying when you say that they're sending their rapists, their pedophiles, their cartel, I just think that that's just a
So you don't
misconception
think what's
that
been
people
going
that's
on
been fed with us.
in Chicago and New York and in Atlanta of I'm not saying all, but when you open the floodgates to everybody, you're not just going to get hardworking men and women. You're going to get criminals.
So
And
can
that's
we
what
are
the
we talking
Biden
about illegal
administration has done.
immigrants that are just coming from Mexico? Are we talking about the other illegal immigrants that
We're
show up
talking
and
about
stay here for a couple of
Africa.
times? Okay.
We're
I just
talking
want to
about Africa. We're talking about China. We're talking about
know. Russia.
everywhere.
What about
We're
Europe?
talking Russia. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
My point is there's a criminal element in every facet of society.
They work in Congress.
But
Yes.
when you open the floodgates, and say everybody can come, you ain't got to have no paperwork, you ain't got to have no documents, you ain't got to go through no procedures. What ends up happening? You have problems, you have issues. And many of them, unfortunately, are using many of the resources that should be used for the Black community.
Maybe
Hold
they're going to
on.
have to take down the writing off the Statue of Liberty that says send us all your masses.
Let me
I
bring
did
a
a
closure.
cartoon on that. They should say,
Let me-
send me your rapists, your pedophiles, your perverts, your criminals.
Let me bring a
Though
closure.
we have those people right here in the United States of America. They don't
We
have
have
the
them in the
floodgates
world.
are
We
not
have
open
we
in
have
the
them in the
world. So
world.
I
We
think
have
we need to
them
be
in the
clear about
world.
who we're calling
We
rapists. I
have them
think
in
we
the
just need
world.
to be a
And
little
thanks
bit
to
more.
Joe Biden's 1994 crime bill, if you just had a bit of crack, you're thrown in jail.
Let me bring a little bit of closure to this situation here, and we can get on to the next part of it. One of the things I would say that I understand the both sides of this situation, but I think what inherently is that we're frustrated, our communities, that when we see, I think sometimes we may be falling into the same gap that you may see some white people or hateful white people see towards Black people when you're somewhat arguing the reasons why they want to get rid of affirmative action because they feel like we're doing this, that, and the other, or we're getting this above them. And now, if we correlate that to the situation here with immigrants, illegal or legal, they get in these benefits, and the argument is, well, where's ours? Now, the thing is, yes, we should have these same benefits, but I'm not willing. Why should we take it away from them just so we can have it when there's plenty available for us to have it? I think the mindset should be, well, if you're giving it to them, we should be giving it to those resources. There's plenty of resources that we're never lacking here in the
Well,
US.
maybe if their people was here for over 400 years and spent 200 plus years on free labor, all right.
But now let's be fair.
Hold on, as foundational blacks, we are the descendants of foundational blacks. We are entitled to those benefits.
No, I'm not denying those things, but keep in mind many of those indigenous and those before that we stole the land for, first of all, there were blacks here, and then also there were those. So I got what you're saying about the foundation. I'm not disputing it, but I'm just saying that they're entitled to benefits and everything else. And what's happening, and let's be fair, from the government side, what's happening in a lot of their countries, some of those things, a lot of it is what we started anyway, because what's the one thing that U.S. is very good at, destabilizing other countries, especially with no government or very poor government. And which project, and then going on to project, correlating back to Project 2025, the issue is labor rights, weakening labor protections that could harm workers, particularly in industries with high percentages of minority employees, which is all of the groups that we're identifying, except for Europeans. And then stricter enforcement that could lead to family separation and heightened fear among immigrant communities. Now, we saw where when Trump was in office, and when you start banning, doing these things, I've seen it personally from there, and also after 9/11, where people who are legal, whatever, if your name just didn't meet America, your accounts were shut down, all the different people, and it was just bad. So we have to, I do understand the issues, but we have to tread this thing cautionally, and there's not going to be one policy, Project 2025 or any policy, that's going to fix the issues. But we have to tread it, we have to apply it conditionally with a plan, addressing those who are not supposed to be here, and with the mindset that we are going to help others and also treat the people here. It's sort of like the cell phone plans. Well, you won't give me the same benefit, but if I join in, you're going to give me the phone for free. But I've been an existing person, can't get the same deal after 5 years of paying my bill on time.
Well,
Or you tell me I'm not qualified for a mortgage, but I pay my rent on time for 5 years. So is how we have to go about. I want to move on because I don't want to get stuck on this topic, but y'all brought some very very points that we do probably need to address a little bit further with some immigration lawyers. I want to also talk about housing discrimination, which all of you are experts on here, and I'm grateful that we have Wall Silk here. They want to change the civil rights and housing, where the weakening in civil rights enforcement could lead to increased discrimination and fewer protections of minority groups, along with changing the fair housing laws that could make it easier for discrimination to occur in the housing market. So the laws and things that we have, protections we're getting against redlining, gentrification, which I don't see them stopping, but all these different things. There's a lot of discrimination with that and regarding civil rights. I don't mind growth, but when they need to build a building, they quick to take the low income areas, which are typically are people of color,
mhm.
versus industrial areas. I've highly said and you don't have to eminent domain those areas, or if you do rebuild, and trust me, some of these areas, neighborhoods, they do need to be rebuilt. Years of neglect from the people in the city, but that does not mean you jack it up so hard where the people can't come back, or those who are property values that go up. The seniors and people who have those homes for years, we need to protect those taxes for rights for them, because now if their home just recently, if your home was 230 and now in the last 3 years it's now 450, the taxes are so high, those seniors are now forced to pay those taxes or get out. That's wrong. We need to have some protections with that. So there's a lot of there's levels to this, as the saying goes. Ms. Walston, please lead off on this.
Do me a favor and repeat that question one more time. Okay. Yeah, I went left, and okay. So just one more time.
I'm sorry. I was trying to clean up the previous conversation to transition. Forgive me.
Okay.
Let me just bring it in. Housing discrimination with the fair housing laws, discrimination, ability to get a home, to be able to get an apartment, not only to obtain it, but accessible, and all the things that goes along with that. What are your thoughts, ma'am?
Right now, my thoughts on the housing issue. Although 2025 has outlined it, I already think it's an issue now because I think it's ridiculous that you have people rent and you tell them that they need to make 3 times the actual rent for them in order to move in. So I don't
They
think
want to
it's just
change
a 2020.
no, I'm talking about specifically like in the document with it, and I know everybody may not have read it, but they're talking about just getting rid of not the existing problem, not so much just the existing problems, but changes further to make it work. Where like you're not guaranteed the rights for housing to make it equitable, fair, and equitable to all. Want to get rid of it. If they want to say 10 times the rent, that's fine. Even if they say 1 times the rent, if they want to practice housing discrimination where if we call somebody Hispanic and then somebody else comes in and say, hey, I'm John from corporate America, hey, here's the apartment, but you told the Hispanic person is not available, that's legal now. That's what that's what they want to make legal, those type of things.
Well, here's the thing. They were doing that before. We had to get the actual law changed. So for me, they're just trying to change that back to the way it was. There was a time where a Black person could not get a house in a certain neighborhood because of gentrification, because of because of the color of your skin. So I think it's an issue, but I think it's issues that are just resurfacing, things that used to happen. This is not new. And again, Project 2025 is an issue, but some of their laws are the same laws or things that they want to put in place that they did when we were segregated. So I just, again, it goes back to us standing and unifying to make sure these things do not change, or having a voice so they do change. That's my thoughts on that. It is very simple for me.
I understand. Tracy?
Now, you know,
I know. I just wanted
all
to be
up
fair.
in my neighborhood. So just to give the audience a little insight, with all the many things I do, I am the housing chair for the Virginia State Conference NAACP, as well as the city of Richmond. So I monitor all housing conditions in the Commonwealth. And what the Queen said is true. I want you to know that there's a very important piece of legislation that was supposed to be signed in April that we've been monitoring, and it hasn't been signed yet. And we honestly, when I say we, the NAACP as a whole, has been monitoring this because it's called the AFFH, which is the Affirmative Fair Housing portion of the Fair Housing Act. Okay, that was due for renewal and they were supposed to sign off on that. And it hasn't been signed off on yet. And we've been calling and contacting HUD to find out like what's going on, because it eliminates everything that you just said, Mr. LP. It eliminates equity in housing. It eliminates how applications are processed in fair housing methods. It eliminates all of that if that isn't signed. Okay. And
Is that the
so
one
the
from HUD?
concern that we have
Excuse me, is that the one from HUD?
it's on the HUD.
Okay, but I was trying to pull
Exactly.
it up and post
Yes.
it. Okay, all right. I'm
Yes.
okay
And
with that
so
now.
that's really, really important. Everybody, and especially people of color, should be asking HUD what's up. Like, why hasn't this been signed yet? Because it is already almost impossible. First of all, there's no such thing as affordable housing. Okay, it doesn't exist. We need obtainable and sustainable housing, because when you talk about affordable housing, affordable to who? Okay, when people have to make 3 and 4 times the monthly rent, when they have to pay more than 30% of what their income is, that's not affordable. When landlords have escalated rent clauses in their leases and they could raise the rents 2 or 3 times before your lease expires in your low income tax credit housing, which is deemed affordable, it's not affordable. And so people tend to forget, historically, the civil rights movement sparked because of housing. That's what initially started that whole movement, was the inability to secure housing for people of color. But it's funny how it's the one thing that everybody needs, but the least thing that everybody talks about. You can't get a job if you don't have an address. Your children can't go to school if they don't have an address. And so it's really, really important. And the way this Project 2025 is written, that if it eliminates just a little bit of some of the protections that we have, pitch a tent, because that's where we're going to have to end up living, because there are landlords right now that's salivating. I mean, just think about this. So we as a people would think that getting a Section 8 voucher would be like hitting the lottery, right? It's free rent. Landlord doesn't have to worry about anything. We get more landlords fighting not to take Section 8, to the point that they had to put that up underneath source of income had to become a protected class. Why? Anytime that there's something that benefits a majority of people, eventually they come up with something to oppose it. And so I'm watching now people literally being priced out of their homes. The inability, I have doctors that are homeless. I have school teachers that are home. I have a school teacher that I just moved into an apartment that was living in her car for the last 2 years. Not because she didn't have the income, she couldn't afford to move in anywhere, because the average rent for her and her 4 kids was $1,700 a month. But they wanted that in deposit. They wanted a $500 holding fee. So she was so priced out of just being able to secure. And you said it best. And I think even we said it earlier. You're telling me that I can pay $1,200 to $1,500 a month rent, but I can't get a mortgage, is ridiculous. Okay, home ownership should be one of our rights that we have. Like he said, one of the rights that we should have. We should have the right to have home ownership. If I can afford to pay somebody else's mortgage, why can't I afford to pay my own?
Amen. Mr. Bryant, sir. Cut.
If you notice, there's a trend going on in this country where major corporations are buying large properties of land, and they're building these homes not to own, but to rent. That keeps them in control, keeps all the profit in their pockets. And that's a major, major problem in this country. Because we already know that one of the primary things when it comes to generational power and wealth is owning your own home. Now, back in the day, you know, our parents, our grandparents, they owned their homes. And they pass it on to their grandkids and their kids. But now that's almost gone now. So I am in agreement with the Queens. That is a major problem. It's a problem, and there's got to be some sort of policy or something that can stop what's going on in this country when it comes to high rent for homes, but no buying homes. When many people want to buy homes, but they can't afford homes. My younger son is an IT engineer, makes $77,000 a year, and he's doing Uber. And he's rooming with 2 other people in an apartment because he cannot afford a home. That is unacceptable. He did everything right. He stayed out of trouble. He got his education. He did everything right. Everything right. And he can't get a home. To me, that is sinful, it's evil, and it's criminal.
I'm going to say something about this, and it may sound a little bit off the beaten path. Prayers to your son and anybody out there in the world that's fighting and to stay in your home, get a home, apartment, rent, whatever the case may be. I want to add a caveat to this and roll with me for a brief moment for 30 seconds. We also have to change the mindset of our men and women out there and things, and I want to tell you why. As a person that's experienced various levels of housing insecurity in my life, I recently had a person was made comments about the fact that I'm 48, but I am not established because I don't got home, I don't got this, I don't got that. And when you put that type of pressure women on men, regardless of color and things, you are forcing those who do not have strength of character or influence and out there doing those things. You're just tearing apart the fabric of relationships of man, female in your homes, whether you're in a relationship with that person or not.
Agreed.
And then we're doing so much to go ahead and do things to get something that you cannot afford or you really shouldn't do just to please somebody, and it's not going and it's working that way. And this starts off with the home because we all know, like you said, one of the first stages to growth of security. And with doing this, especially in our Black community, and it's starting to happen in our brown community. But they were leading the pack. We're not working together anymore in terms of getting the homes. We know the game. We understand it and we see it every day. But we refuse as a community to work together in it. Your son's doing it, some other groups are doing it, working to get okay, look, we want what we want, we understand, but this is not the case anymore. For the last 30 to 40 years, we got away from it. From the mid 70s on, we're not getting homes together. We're not saving together. We've got too many sisters, siblings with 2, 3, 4 kids. Can't wait to tax season so they can go shop and do everything else instead of saying, let's put our money together and let's get a big house and land, put some tiny homes, whatever we got to do. We got to sleep together in some beds, whatever going on, but we all under one roof and everybody eats and everybody's safe and nobody's cold. And I'm saying that as a call to arms to stop chastising people for what they don't have and be happy that they got a roof over their head or something, even if it's a tent or even a roof of a car. Is something. Stop putting men and women down in our communities for what we don't have and focus on what we do have. That's one.
I agree.
Second, we need to start having one of the things I've mentioned in my book regarding alternative investing is that we're going to have to get in our heads that we're going to have to work together and live in together as best we can. We understand there's some safety and other issues out there. But for those who can, we need to start working together and start investing together, crowdfunding together, doing what we can together. If that house obviously went up to 250 and it went to 450, but it got 4 or 5 bedrooms and it's got whatever, why not work it out with a good friend, good sister, good cousin, good coworker, whatever the case may be. And we know the game. So you can save your money, build up, get another piece of property and move on. Those lessons.
But I think Mr. LP is in that point. It goes back to Ron's point. We've become, to me, in some instances, too Americanized because we come from a village. Our whole DNA is based on a village mentality where everybody in the village had a role. And one of the things, going back to most of your immigrants, okay, they'll come over here and one person to get a place and they'll sponsor somebody else and bring them over the place. When they move out, they don't move into apartments. 9 times out of 10, they move into a home and then they get the next person. When my grandparents was young, when my grandparents was around, there was no such thing as yours, mine, and ours. If you needed to sleep in a bathtub, it wasn't no such thing as somebody in the village being homeless. Okay, if there's a pallet on the floor, there's something. Now we become so, well, this is mine and my space, and I don't want anybody in my space. Now I understand that we can't let everybody into our home because some of us got family that they got testimonies and things. I get that. But for the most part or whatever, we were talking about this at work one day. And I said, I remember being a kid that we didn't even realize that we were poor basically by the standards or whatever and stuff, because like when we were outside, if my one neighbor had bread, my mother had cold cuts, this one had mayonnaise, and they would feed the kids. They didn't just feed their kids, they would feed the kids while they were outside, you know what I'm saying, playing, and you could trust the village. The second thing I like to say is, and I say it all the time when you and I are talking, until we restore this love affair between a Black man and a Black woman the way it's supposed to be, we will continuously keep going around it. We were built to work together. There's a reason we were built to work together. And because what happened is, and I know a lot of women get mad at me, but I believe that whole women's movement in some way was one of the worst things that happened to Black women, because while they were burning their bras and everything else, white women still support their husbands. They still support their husbands. They build them up. We started tearing our men down and we allow other people to tear them down. In my mindset, I'm like Angie Stone, Black brother, I love you. Or whatever. I don't care. I love my Black brothers that's incarcerated. I love my Black brothers that's in the street, because when I look, I see a reflection of who you can be, not what you are. And I think that if we restore that love affair and we get together, the reason why they don't want us together is for that very reason. Because if that love affair is ever restored, we are a dynamic force to be reckoned with.
I agree. Will said, my sister.
Amen. That's it. And then that's the whole thing. And that's when I thought about that person that told me this, and it broke my heart because I realized, as people, many of us have gone through these things, and they got to a certain level, you either forgotten or you see somebody that reminds you of where that is, and you don't want to be associated with that. And you say, "Oh, get the best, the brightest, of this, that, and other." At the same time, you're tearing that person down. We've got to do better. I want to go on. I'm not going to keep everybody long and things, but I want to go over a couple of things that may not be discussed about. We know about the health. We understand health. We understand the gun. We understand the climate. One of the things is I wanted to go over that it's not talked about very much as thing is money towards autism and sex trafficking. Two big issues. I want to I'll tackle autism first. It's a rising crime. Sorry, it's a rising issue, but it's a crime that we are not dealing with it in the way that we should be here in America. Uh, we've had various forms of it in history, obviously, and then now both come to fruition. We can have all the types of discussions about the foods, but if you feel about vaccines over the years, whatever. Issue is that it's here. Now, what are we going to do about it? And especially that it's happening, is rising faster in our communities of color. And more importantly, many of our cities and states are ill equipped. When someone's having a crisis moment, our police officers are ill equipped. Our teachers are obviously know about it and what have you, but on top of everything that else that they got to deal with, and underpaid and exhausted, 18-hour days, they got to deal with this. And are our parents, our grandparents, our guardians, aunts, uncles, what have you, are nothing's wrong with my child, when you know it is, but you don't, because I get it. Nobody wants to say they have their child has a problem. We get that, and we don't want to speak ill of anything. And of course, we all have our views of faith. We're going to pray against it, blah blah. But we have to deal with the facts right now here in reality. You can choose to be an advocate and a power to speak, or you can hide in the midst of darkness. And that's what's going on with autism and sex trafficking and everything else. What are your thoughts on those two issues? I'm going to start with you, Cut, sir.
My thoughts on autism, how I've always felt about that, is a problem that's been affecting our community, and we need to increase funding to deal with it. But I have a bigger concern when it comes to sex trafficking, because my Gigi series is based on that.
Right.
We have a major problem when it comes to young Black girls and Black women when it comes to sex trafficking. The media does not recognize it. They ignore it. All right. And it's something that, unfortunately, in the Black community, we tend to just kind of ignore and bypass. And that's something that has to be addressed, I feel, for this upcoming election. That's how I feel.
I agree. Ms. Walston?
Well, autism, one of the biggest things that I think about with autism is one of the things that you pointed out is because we ignore, and speaking specifically about the Black community, we ignore and we like to pray things away. And one of the things is that we need to become educated, because autism doesn't just look like something. There's a whole spectrum of autism, and getting children tested, educating yourself to know what it is, knowing how to manage a child. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever been in public and you might see a child that looks like they're being very disrespectful to their parent. And it is possible that parent has not taken that child to get any testing, and they're acting out, or they're sensitive to touch, or they're sensitive to light because they are autistic. So one of the things that I think is necessary, there are several institutions that need to be expanded. People need to donate. There's a Virginia Autism Institute, and I think it's Richmond. We need to be aware of the resources. We need to be aware to let parents know it's okay, that things are not okay. Just because a child is autistic does not mean that child is going to suffer. If you know anything about autism, a lot of times kids that are autistic have a talent that some of us that we can't even do. So autism should not be frayed upon. It should be like welcome, because it's just a part of everyone's community, including the Black community. And it's just about making sure our kids get physicals, making sure that they get tested, making sure that you're attentive if you do find out that your child is diagnosed with autism, and not ignore it and sweep it under the rug. I knew a young couple years ago whose child was not diagnosed until he was in his 20s, and he was homeschooled because his parents did not want to deal with the fact that he was autistic. And now that child is mute. He does not engage, he does not interact, he has no social skills. And children with autism can live like regular children. Why? Because they are regular children who turned into regular adults. So that is one of those things that is near and dear. And I think people should educate and become more aware about autism. So that's the first thing. The sexual trafficking thing, I'm not going to pretend like I know a lot about it, but I can tell you that I see it. I think I scroll through Facebook every single day and I see missing children and just missing this and missing that. And I don't know why this has become a big issue in this country, but it is of concern. What do we do about it? I have no idea, but I would love to hear your feedback on it.
Silk, we've talked about this a lot, all the time.
Right.
Your thoughts?
So I'm not even going to comment on autism, because I think what everything that the Queen just said puts a pinpoint. Nothing else needs to be said about that, because I totally agree with her. As far as the sex traffic, again, we first got to get to the point, not on my watch. Okay, not on my watch. We all have to adopt that mentality, right? But then we also, it goes back to something that Ron said before. What is our worth? Okay, because when it comes down to especially Black women, there's not a worth value there. Okay, it never has been. Okay, we get Amber Alerts, right? As soon as a child goes missing, we get an Amber Alert, right? But then when Black children, and we, like, I know within the last 2 hours, I done seen like 7 Black kids that's missing all over the place, but they don't meet the criteria for an Amber Alert, right? And so what happened is, once we start realizing that our kids didn't get Amber Alerts, then we had to go and create our own. And it should not be that way. Okay, it should not be that way. But the one thing that we all know, everybody here and everybody that's listening to the sound of my voice, our parents has always told us that people treat you the way you allow them to treat you.
Thank you.
Okay, they treat you the way you allow them to treat you. And so if you keep giving them your money, to Ron's point, if you keep voting for them, if you keep shopping in their stores, and if you keep watching their TV outlets, and they're not showing you that they value your business, people laugh like, I am diehard football. I run a national football league, okay? Diehard football, was a diehard Cowboy fan. And I promise you, it hurt my heart the day that I said I give up the NFL, okay? And I look at people and they go, why? And I say, I don't knock anybody who watched the NFL, but if you watch an entity that treats our brothers like they are slaves on the plantation, where they can't have their own opinions, they can't say anything that's going to make the massa mad, that they're going to lose millions, and you don't have a problem with that, but then you run out and you buy their jerseys, you buy their flags, you fly them all on your car. And this is why people treat us the way, because they know whenever something bad goes on, we get hyped up, we get mad, we may march, we may protest, we may even boycott for a week. And then it slowly starts to fizzle down, and you don't hear nothing else until another situation comes up, and then everybody wants to galvanize all over again. I always say, when people say march, I'm like, ain't your damn feet tired? Like, how many times you gonna go marching or whatever and stuff? Black lives matter, but does it really matter to you? I mean, realistically, what is your worth? What is the worth that you put on yourself? It's like so funny, because like, yeah, in the 20s and stuff, I rushed to jobs or whatever and stuff like that. When I left the job market and people started calling me, I was like, I'm here because I choose to be, not because I have to be. because I know what my worth is. And it's okay for me not to take your job. I remember when I quit my job, the lady said to me, "Oh my God, what about your family?" And I bust out laughing. I said, "You go too far with the comedy. If you think that my household and my family runs on what you're providing me, then you're sadly mistaken." And so again, until we start showing people what we worth, until we unify as a people, the thing that really aggravates me, Mr. LP, we don't even have to reinvent the wheel. The template was there. Tulsa showed us what the template was there. Black Wall Street showed us that the template was there. The
Richmond.
template is always it has always been there. The Panthers showed us what the template was there. It's so funny that the Black Panthers started the WIC program that a lot of Black people don't know, right? But as soon as white people stole it and put their own spin on it for social services, it just it boggles my mind. There's nothing that is going on in these great United States of America that we didn't have our hand in it, but we're the least person to benefit from it. We got to start showing people what we were.
I agree with you. I want to also make a point. First off, thank you. I want to make sure I give to people out. Thank you very much. A lot of people have been watching this show. I want to make sure I give a shout out Victoria James, Vicky J, Tashima, Christian, in the beginning, Sophie, Kennedy, Maurice Neblett. I want to make a couple. Lloyd, thank you so much, brother. Naomi Young, thank you, Queen. I want to also make a couple of comments. Jeff Haskins, wonderful brother, thank you for the work that you do. He says that people also don't use the resources available in reference to autism, and he's very right. There are those who are not advocating, and then it was there because it's not the way you want it per se. They're not utilizing the resources. So same thing. Shelby Haskins, very much. She said the same thing. She went through some challenges not too long ago, and I want to make sure her words are up here as I speak them. Same thing happened to me when I quit my previous job in 2022 and things. And she has a powerful story. One day we're going to have to get her to tell. And you're right. Thank you very much for all of your comments, everybody. These are very valid issues. And the one thing I will say about that, we need to make sure there's adequate resources. There's so many different forms of autism on the spectrum. We need to speak about. I think that when we do have to sit there and think about, and not to minimize anything bad, but I think we need to caution this when we sit there, run it through our prison systems. We need to worry about those in the military that are suffering in silence. Who everybody that because they couldn't perform, and was it because of that? There's a lot of different things that's out there. As far as the sex trafficking, we have to do better as a community with it all. Like you said, not on a watch. We don't even print it on the milk cartons anymore. We just let go some of the things that were staples. There is a whole generation that don't know what we're talking about when we say milk cartons, and that's that. And the sad part is we can't even afford the damn milk anymore. Lord forgive me.
We won't even talk about that.
There's not even cartons anymore.
I gotta go. I got a meeting to attend to.
Not a problem. I'm going to tie this up. But, sir, before you go, could you give everybody where to find you, where to follow you, where we can, keep your cell phone ringing on a Cash App, all that good stuff?
I'm still on Facebook. If you go to Facebook, facebook.com. Toon Kook is my name. GG Cartoons, Cutting Edge Cartoons, as well as Instagram, cut_and_GG. You can find me there on Instagram. TikTok, I am Cut and Edge. All right. Cut with an N and edge. I'm there on TikTok. All right.
What was the first one that you said? I'm putting this in the comments.
On Facebook, I am Facebook, www.facebook.com/Toon Kook.
TOONCOOK.
TOONKOOK.
Okay, see, I got you.
Okay.
Okay, not a problem.
And you'll see my Cash App information on Instagram, TikTok, as well as Facebook. All right.
Okay, thank you so very much. I'm
posting it. It has, my brother LP. It's been a pleasure, and you queens, we got to have more conversations.
So, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. I think we should. Yes.
We got to do this again. Well done, brother LP. Well done.
Thank
You know
you.
what? You should do this once a week
Absolutely was
So,
fun.
because this
you're
year is
advocating me to bring this
historical.
back.
This year is historical. So
Yes.
we
There's
gotta
a couple of topics in this today that
Yes.
we could just expand about. So yes,
and
I'm
this has to
willing.
be on record now. This has to be on
Mhm.
record because of this year, 2024.
Mhm.
Love
All
you
right.
all.
So thank you. I'm gonna let everybody know if I come back and y'all hating on me, don't get mad at me. I'm gonna send them your way.
Talk to you all soon. Have a blessed weekend.
We're gonna get another NAACP award. We're gonna prize away. All right. I'm not gonna keep you ladies long. We're not gonna do our 5-hour shows, but
Okay.
I want to hit one more topic and then give it to you ladies and things like that. We've talked about several things that's going on, and I want to talk about something that Project 2025 is taking away. It's not specifically saying it, but it really is. It's taking away the self of love, not just about love of oneself. Excuse me, not just about abortion and all those things, because that's a sore topic for me. Because I remember as a guy, and I know people say, "Oh, you shouldn't be speaking about this," blah blah blah. Bullshit. Lord forgive me for cussing, but bullshit. And I know I'm gonna get cussed at because I can't say it right. But is my thing is this: life is life, and everybody's health is important to me. And if we don't educate ourselves, we're damned to complete it again. And I'm tired of seeing our people die, especially our women are dying more and more during childbirth, abortions, back alleys. I remember, I don't know, it's going to be hurtful, but I remember the coat hangers. Okay. So, and without a lot of strong women in our lives, many of us could have been that way too. That's what they were forcing people of color. I think people forgot about that. But not only that, we are we're missing the aspect of loving oneself in our community, and not just our black community, our brown, just all of our communities. And we're forgetting about what loving ourselves is, because we talk about loving for everybody else, but there's a lot of unhealed trauma, a lot of unhealed hurt, and it's easy to taking the aspect of manipulation, the skills of it, and disseminating those skills in a negative way, as to telling one person, this person got more than you, this person got this, you should be getting this more than the other person, in all scopes of reality in our lives. And while at the same time, those persons that's teaching you how to hate each other, or they're the ones in your back pocket. As we're on our front porch or our sidewalks yelling at each other across the street, they lock the doors and we can't get back in our homes, our jobs, our cars, or whatever. We're shut out. And it's happening more and more and more. And I'm bringing it to the YouTube queens. I'm not asking you to speak to all women of the nation and the world, but our women are our foundations. Women set the tone, men take the lead, and we're missing that. We're so focused on getting this going that we're forgetting the love, like you mentioned, for men and women, but also just the love of oneself. I think we can't get that love back and forth to restore in terms of loving oneself. So my question to you is, our final question: what can we do to work on? What are some suggestions? 3 to improve loving ourselves, our individual selves, and who we are, of your color, whatever your body type is, whatever you look at, your skin, whatever you have in your hands or pocket, just loving yourself and your spirit in order to heal and move forward.
You gonna go first?
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, for me, I can sum it up just in one word: validation. Stop looking for validation from other people. Okay. I think that so many times we get hemmed up on looking for someone to stamp grady beef on the back of our behinds or whatever, as if like someone else's opinion of me matters. And I think that that's really important. I think that we've gotten so far away from caring and romancing ourselves and having a love affair with ourselves because of validation. We look at pictures. We have our young girls tuning into stupid foolishness like Basketball Wives, not realizing it ain't none of them alive. You know what I'm saying, or whatever and stuff. And so it's all of this stuff that's being poured into them. I could think about just being a kid. Be careful what you eat, right? We always say that don't put everything into your mouth. Don't put everything into your spirit. Don't let everybody pour into your spirit. You know what I'm saying? Um, be careful who you choose as your friend. There's a difference between friends and associates. And I think a lot of times that's one of the things that, teaching my grandchildren now is not everybody is your friend and not all skin folk or kinfolk. Okay, we've got to realize that. So I just think that that's important. That love yourself, love the way you are, because like we're killing ourselves. We're looking across the globe and we're seeing all of a sudden bleaching of skin in Africa is at an all-time high. Okay, women in the United States getting butts. I was blessed with a big butt, and I don't want it. So I'm just trying to understand why people paying millions of dollars millions of dollars for one is like blowing me away. Like who knew? You know what I'm saying? I just think just loving the skin that you in and loving who you are as a person and not letting nobody violate. But and also just on the flip side, if you're those people, also let us be careful of the words that come out of our mouths. Words hurt. Um, Words leave a lasting impression. That saying that you are what you eat is true. If you allow people and you constantly feeding somebody, if you got children and you constantly feeding them, you ain't shit, you ain't never gonna be shit, you ain't gonna never amount to shit, then don't be surprised when they turn out not to be worth shit. That's just it. Words hurt, they're powerful. And so we just need to be mindful of those things.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Well, I will piggyback off of that. So, one of the things that I think is important is that we need to understand what love is. So, love needs to be defined. And one of the things that it needs to be defined in is at birth. So, one of the things that I did when I was carrying my children, I always talked to my children. And when my children would get up every single morning, because I have boys, I would kiss them and say, "Good morning, kid," and let them know the person that they were going to be when they go into this world. We as mothers, since we are nurturers, have to start in the home. That does not mean we don't get to discipline them. That doesn't mean that we're not going to tell them we're going to whip their little behinds. It means that we need to set a precedent for our children before they leave out that house. And we need to do that with our sisters. We need to do that with our brothers. And we need to do that with our friends. I know that, people make a big deal about, who you put around you, but you need to also be accepting of who's around you. We need to respect the fact that everybody came here as an individual. We were all uniquely made by God. So yes, some of them are going to be ratchet. Some of them are going to be disloyal. But if that's who they are, respect them and love them for who they are and put them where they need to in your life. We need to understand what love is. And that way we can learn to love ourselves. If we are giving out that love, we will necessarily get that love back. The other thing is we need to start making promises to ourselves that we make to other people. If we promise somebody that we're going to show up at 5:00, we need to promise ourselves when we make that promise to ourselves that we're going to take 10 to 15 minutes out to read or do some self-care. We need to keep promises to ourselves. We need to work together to understand what love is. We can make our own definition. We don't have to go by everybody else's. I know for me, loving people is just simply that. I want you to treat me the way that I treat you. And if you can't do that, let me guide you through that. I think it is necessary that for us to know that in order to even love other people, we have to love ourselves. So take some time out, reflect, have conversations with other women. I know women like to be catty and whatever, but my thing is, if that's what we are, we're going to be catty together. We're going to argue together, but we're going to love each other after that argument. We're going to respect each other after that argument because that's what we need to do. We are from an Eastern culture. We are living in this Western culture. We come from a village that stays together. Let's go ahead and translate that over there in this Western culture. So just love yourself by reminding yourself every day who you are, who God placed you to be, and just give that to your kids' friends, your kids' friends' parents, and just keep it going.
Well said, Queen. Well said.
It's well said. I want to share the words. I sent her a message. Hopefully, she might be able to join us. But Miss Shelby Hoskins, Jesus, I want to get it straight. Shelby Hopkins Haskins said that the media also feeds into the low self-esteem and self-worth a whole lot, and all very true. And it's really hard because I've seen it's one thing, and I don't care for it, but it's one thing when you see it in our younger girls, but now when you see in our late 40s, 50s, and 60s, and even in some cases 70s, 80s, doing all these different things because that's what they see. I want that lifestyle, and then if any man or woman don't have it, then you're not on my level. I work hard. I'm strong, black, and whatever the argument is going to be. And when you say that, I always tell myself, if you have to keep saying it, you're not that person. And who you trying to convince, us or yourself? When you keep saying that, and you got to keep repeating that, because the person who loves you or cares about you don't give a damn, much less not to minimize what your achievements and things are, but that's not what they're there for. The person that is focuses about who you are as a person, that's going to matter. I'm laughing, Ross, because I know what you're saying. I caught it. So I'm going to be transparent and vulnerable and say, yeah, I got it. But we have to live life and understand who we are and accept it that not everybody, just as they said, not everybody can come to your home for dinner. Not everybody's going to like the food that you dish, even when it's healthy for you. And sometimes we have to accept the fact that when that happens, what are you going to do? Are you going to hold contempt and let that beat you down, or are you going to put one foot in front of each other and go? Because sadly, there will be other things that's going to come across life that's going to hit worse than any of the other minor things. And people are going to hate me as a guy saying it, but I don't care. There are too many women out there trying to get bigger breasts. And there are too many women who got big breasts and trying to shrink them, lift them, lower them, God knows what. And the same thing with the butt and spending all this money when I could say, save that money for a rainy day. You know, if it's a health issue, and stop trying to make whatever excuses and things, what have you. Did you do all what you can physically here? You know, weight, work on your low core strength, whatever. And you're going to get mad at me? Don't care. Is it that important? I saw a gentleman do a video about how much he's been treated better. He went to Turkey and spent all this money, nearly 100 grand, and he got himself 6 inches, and now he went from 5'6", 5'7" to 6'1", 6 feet, 6'1", and the attention that he's getting, and the jobs and everything else. And it's sad because how far in life are we doing that we have to break your legs and keep breaking them to grow extra inches? And for women to now notice a man because of that, or you now notice it because of the money, that's just wrong. And these are the type of low self-esteem issues that, as we are fighting to accept the fact that we have a problem, fighting to not address them in a medical, in a holistic way, in prayerful way. Now we're falling for the game, and they're taking advantage with Project 2025 and going forward with it. And if you're too busy not looking at the trees or the forest and you're just sitting there blind, you're never going to be able to see again, because by then they already poked your eyes out. What are you going to do to protect yourself? I want to give a couple of final words of thoughts to you two queens. First and foremost, Wes Walston. Please, as you give your final thoughts, please let us know how we can get in contact with you, and thoughts, any final thoughts as well. Social media, how we can buy more of your products and items.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm just going to piggyback off the last thing you said. I do want people to be mindful that you can do all the augmentation all day long. That means you still don't like yourself. That means there's still a mental health issue. So we can do all the changing we want, but we're going to have a lot of people who just hate themselves. So reach out to people. So that leads me into my caveat because I'm a licensed clinician and I am the therapist at Accepting Grace Counseling and Therapeutic Services, LLC. I do provide outpatient therapy, virtual health. I will give you my information for that. I also am an author. I currently have 3 books. You can find those books on Amazon. I will also provide you with that information. It's Generational Dysfunctions, To the Little Girl Who Loves to Dance, and Yes, I Am Woman. And I'm on TikTok, but I'm acting like a fool on TikTok, so I don't know if you want to see that. But on TikTok, I'm called Openly Shy, and that's just my outlet, so I don't have to go get augmentation. Okay. And I have enjoyed my time with you all this evening, and I hope to get to do it again, or at least get invited again.
Oh, most definitely. You always, you know, we didn't get you in all the time previously, but I just always want you to know that you are always welcomed here and with our shows and anything else. And if you just tell me, Stephen, we need to get this done, we'll do it. I want you to know that you're always been welcome and loved, and I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Raw Silk.
Well, I've definitely enjoyed my time. You know, I always like talking, especially with you. It was my pleasure, Queen, to share this platform with you. It was very great conversation. Looking forward to doing it again. I can be found on Facebook at Author Tracy Hartney Scott, on Instagram and X, now that used to be Twitter. I'm Raw Silk 15. Um, Wherever Mr. LP is, I'm usually I usually am not too far behind if it's somewhere talking or whatever and stuff. So yeah, but you can hit me up on Facebook. My books are on Amazon. I do have 3 books out as well, and I have 2 collaboration books that's out: the COVID Chronicles and my love story. So just hit me up. Love to definitely do this again, and just have amplified voice, engage in conversation because it's much needed. So I thank you for always, Mr. LP providing that platform.
Thank you very kindly. Oh gosh, I don't even know where to start and say. First off, thank you, Queens. Thank you, all of you, for coming out, joining in the fun, sharing, doing what you can. You did not have to, and I appreciate it very much. It's always nice to know that when it comes to, as they say, call to arms. It's a sacrifice, and y'all, as you say, it's not a crime. I can't say it correctly, but crime to join us for everything else. So I appreciate you very much. Thank you, everybody. If again, for all of you who joined in and everything else, thank you. If you ever want to get it on with future conversations, I think I'm going to sit there and take the challenge of getting us back out there again. I'm not sure what day was going on and things like that. Fridays typically not our days. We're usually in the past we were always Tuesdays, and I might just have to go back to that. But hey, if there's some other day, or you just want us to record it and push it out online and let you watch it at your leisure, let us know. If you want to be live, you want us to go back and continue doing it live, let us know. We'll figure it out, and we'll try to come to a happy medium that'll work. Either way is always going to be available online, just like all our previous shows. It takes a lot to make these things happen. As everything goes, it takes money to sometimes to make money and things. And if any of you have any time to share, please feel free. I have to pay Miss Walston and Silk a lot of money, $1,000 an hour. And they cost, and they said, they were going to be nice to me, but Silk told me to run me my money. And so I'm going to do whatever I can, so I'm bringing out the hood side of me. So please feel free to Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Zelle, whatever, or just put a comment, email me, whatever the case may be. And we'll definitely get out donation things. We'll make sure it's tax deductible and all the other different things out there. So we greatly appreciate it. Also, for those who are shoppers online, I am used to be or now returned to be an Amazon seller. So you hit our link, tinycc/MRLP Amazon. A lot of discounts and things. You can find plenty of good books. You're not going to get discounts on Miss Walston's and Silk's book, but you can get discounts on everything else of things. And my book is up there too. And you're going to have another book out there shortly. The viability of alternative investing. I truly feel that we had control and understanding how money works and our investing, we can erase that 400 or 500 year gap and then some, and let the money work for us instead of working for the money. I do believe that's something that we need to do. But I hope that this can bring a understanding and a level of peace within our hearts, to knowing what's going on out there, but inspire you to do more. We have to galvanize our communities. We have to galvanize and understand that not everybody in our neighbor, just because they look like us or don't look like us, are our enemies, and also they are not our friends. And we have to use probable discernment, not conspiracy theories, not weird things, not assumptions, not past experiences. You have to give everybody his own face. Now, granted, we have to be careful and we have to learn our lessons, but we can't necessarily apply the same thing to everything. And that's what they did to us as a people of color. Why should we do it to everybody else? We forget about that. And at the same time, we must protect our children. Many of us are uncles, aunts, and cousins, and we're not protecting our youth and our families. We need to do a better job. Many of them are hungry or missing. Their mother or father are gone or missing, per jail, whatever the situation may be, and we're not doing enough to give support. We need to do better. And last but not least, get out there and vote. I don't care what you feel that is your vote don't matter. I don't care what you may see. Now, if you're voting for Trump, but just know what you're getting into. And just know that too many of us are getting caught up that he gave us checks and get all these other things. These are things that you're supposed to have. And if you're letting that be your answer, then you're holding on to really low hanging fruit. You're not holding on to the lessons and everything else. That's what took us so long to get civil rights and things. We could have been 40 years on. We could have got this done before the war, before 1900. But we gave up the goose because you saw too many people told when we had our meetings. We told when we were about to gather and run the plantations and everything else. And then we end up hurting our cultures, and now we can't go forward. Our history, we're just now getting the information out about our inventions and technology and everything else that we have is from people of color. So most things. So we need to understand we can do better and let your voices be heard. Now, again, if he gets in office, be careful what you wish for. You might just get it. I thank you, everybody, for your time. God bless you. Please, again, post your comments. We're going to follow up and answer those questions. Have a blessed day. Everybody stay with me for there. The guests, but everybody else, have a great and blessed day, everybody. Bye-bye.